Everything is burning to ashes, but our boy is lost in a totally different internal monologue. 5. He's thinking about how history is going to remember him. As a loyal knight who stood by his emperor till the very end, or as a complete idiot who chose the wrong side. And the funny part, he doesn't like either option. This is Kane, an imperial guard who served an emperor that had completely lost his mind and even made a deal with a demon. I mean, our boy really picked the worst boss possible. And now he's just hoping that people forget him entirely. But nope, fate had other plans. The scene cut to Halo Reston, the rebel leader, crying miserably over Kane's body. He's yelling at him, calling him an idiot. Tears, he asks why Kane turned his sword away at the last second. He's like, bro, you could have escaped, why did you do that? He shakes Kane's corpse and screams, open your eyes, you bastard. But our boy has already checked out. Lights off, nobody's home. Now Kane is walking through a strange afterlife. It looks like someone spilled a Van Gogh painting everywhere. And he's like, so this is death, this is freedom, an eternal screensaver running forever. Kinda weak, but hey, at least Halo cried for me, that was nice. He's just about to enjoy this freedom, when suddenly a glowing blue orb flies straight into his eye. Next moment, his eyes open, and there's an old man standing in front of him who suspiciously looks like Halo, just ancient and wrinkled. The old man says the child is healthy, his name will be Karen. He asks the father if he wants to hold the baby. Everyone's talking about how the baby isn't even crying and how strong he looks. Meanwhile, Kane's brain is lagging, trying to process what the hell is happening. And then it hits him, wait, that's Halo, just really old. And suddenly, baby Kane starts crying loudly. Because bro just realized he has been reincarnated as his own best friend's grandson. Halo thinks maybe he accidentally made the baby cry, but in reality, Kane is having a full-blown existential crisis in baby form. Fast forward. We're in a history class where a professor is explaining how the noble knight Kane, who died with the emperor 45 years ago, is now remembered as a symbol of unwavering loyalty. And sitting there is 10-year-old Karen, absolutely not happy hearing this. The professor adds that Duke Halo probably wanted to restore his friend's honor, you know, because they were besties. And Karen just straight up says, nope, I think Grandpa is settling old grudges and deliberately turning his dead friend into a hero just to mess with him. The professor's face, priceless. Karen explains that Halo just can't accept that Kane wanted a peaceful death, not to become some legendary hero. But now he's getting the full propaganda treatment. Hearing this theory, the professor starts sweating, because a 10-year-old just dropped the most controversial take in history class. He's thinking, if I agree with this kid, the Duke's Knights will kill me for blasphemy. Karen laughs it off and says he was joking. But yeah, he's been reborn as Karen Weston, the third son of Count Peel, who is Halo's youngest son. And he's pissed that Halo turned him into a hero when all he wanted was peace. Now about his dad. Scene cuts to Peel, nailing and praying. This man is literally the sweetest human alive. He never awakened any magic power, so he's worried he might have passed that burden onto his son. Karen puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "You're the best father in the world." Peel gets emotional, hugs him and starts pulling his cheeks, then asks what he wants for dinner. Our boy says meat. That night, Karen lies in bed thinking about the upcoming awakening ceremony. He remembers when Halo told him that not everyone awakens, and even if you do, it doesn't mean you'll become the family head. Plus, there's a mysterious secret that only the family head knows. Young Kane had asked if it was treasure or some kind of grimoire. Halo promised that if he became the head, he'd tell him. Back then, Kane had said he'd rather live peacefully somewhere far away. But Karen, he has already awakened his magic. A blue aura starts glowing around him and he thinks, Dad, don't worry, I've already handled it. Turns out he awakened a long time ago, he just never told anyone. Next day, the family is heading to the capital. Our boy is super excited just to sit in a train. His mom tells him that the commercialization of trains was only possible because of his father. She winks and says his dad is truly amazing. Karen is surprised, realizing that even though Peel can't use mana, he's incredible in other ways. He funded trains and other magical projects and contributes 30% to the Duke's income. But he quickly forgets all that and starts geeking out because this is his first train ride. On the way, Karen sees the Reston family's main estate, Azure Sea Fortress, and a devilish smile appears on his face. He's thinking he'll meet his grandfather, his old friend Halo. But Karen has his own plans. He's going to become the exact opposite of everything Halo built. He'll prove all those worries were pointless and become completely unworthy of the family name. Our boy is about to speedrun the family disappointment route. And honestly, after being turned into a propaganda poster child against his will, you can't even blame him. He mentally tells his old friend, "Wait for me, your lovely grandson is coming." Scene shifts. The train stops at the station. An old man named Heinrich welcomes them. Karen immediately notices the knights standing there and realizes these guys are way more competent than the ones in his territory. He thinks Halo won't take long to figure out that he has awakened, but he doesn't care. They head to the main palace. A lady asks Karen to wait in the reception room while his father meets the family elders. Karen looks around and thinks, damn, this is just the reception room, this fortress is insane. He's getting bored when suddenly, from the corner of the room, a kid starts laughing at him. The boy says, talking about going to the library right after arriving, the rumors are true, total bookworm. Karen turns and thinks, who the hell is this? The boy keeps going, saying since Karen's father never awakened magic, his chances are low too, so he should focus on studying and earn money like commoners just like his dad. And he doesn't stop there, he even mocks Karen's haircut. Then this idiot makes a mistake he really shouldn't have made. He challenges our boy to a fight. This kid is way too confident in his magic power. Karen stares at him and asks, is the main family raising delinquents now? He releases his aura, and the kid's confidence starts crumbling. Stuttering, the boy asks, when did you awaken? Your dad never said anything. Karen replies, my dad doesn't know either. And most importantly, there's only room for one delinquent in this house. I'm taking that role, so step aside. While the boy is still confused, Karen says, decision made, time for your beating. Cut to the elders meeting. They're discussing that Karen has awakened, confirmed by 3 captains. Raphael, the second prince, suspiciously asks what Peel is planning. Peel replies, bro, I didn't even know myself. Suddenly, someone runs into the room and calls Heinrich. Raphael follows, and what they see shocks everyone. Leo is lying on the couch like he just went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. Seeing his son like that, Raphael loses it. He grabs Karen's collar and starts yelling about manners. Peel tries to intervene, but Karen calmly explains, Leo insulted my father, I couldn't just stand there. Raphael calls it nonsense, until Bale grabs his shoulder and says, that's enough. Raphael shouts that this is all because of Peel's bad parenting. Then Heinrich drops a bomb, the Duke himself will decide this. Everyone heads to Halo's study. Halo asks why Karen caused such a big incident the moment he arrived. Peel tries to explain, but Halo stops him, I didn't ask you, I want to hear it directly from Karen. Karen is surprised. He thinks being generous doesn't suit you, you bastard. He tells the truth, that Leo insulted his father. Raphael calls him a liar, but Halo slams the desk and shuts him up. Then Halo says, that's not the only thing I wanted to ask. Karen casually says, if you're talking about my magic, I awakened 3 years ago. The entire room goes silent. Halo asks why he kept it hidden. Karen says he later read in a book that it was magic, and decided keeping it a secret would be best. When Halo asks why, Karen gives the most unhinged answer. Keeping secrets is fun, and it was even more fun because the knights in my territory had no idea. This kid has been trolling everyone for 3 years, just for entertainment. Meanwhile, Leo is wrapped up in bandages like a mummy. Halo asks if Leo really insulted him. Leo hesitates, but Karen instantly switches to acting mode. Even if my cousin mocked me, I shouldn't have hit him. Hearing this, Leo gets PTSD flashbacks from Karen's aura and immediately blurts out, yes, it's true. Halo says their punishment will be decided after tomorrow's awakening ceremony. After everyone leaves, Halo asks Heinrich what he thinks about Karen. He notes that Karen not only awakened on his own, but also subtly pointed out how weak the knights in Peel's territory are. Halo is now determined to find out what makes Karen special. Scene shifts. We see an altar deep in the forest. It's night and the entire family is escorting Karen. He thinks damn they really called everyone. Retired grandpas, dukes, his daughter Lean, Raphael, Leo, the whole squad is here. And they finally reach the altar. Right at the center, there's a mysterious stone placed there. The Stone of Oath. Grandpa Hello steps forward and begins explaining. When you enter the rift, this stone will create a personalized nightmare dimension for you. Yeah, not a test, not an exam, straight up trauma simulator. The goal is simple, obtain a weapon from that world and destroy it. Simple, he says. Karen says he's ready. Hello picks up an amulet like he's about to summon Exodia or something. As soon as the amulet connects with the Stone of Oath, reality starts glitching. Space begins tearing apart. The pressure becomes so intense that everyone starts panicking. Pell looks worried. Meanwhile, Karen just shrugs. I'll be back. Destroying things is kind of my specialty anyway. Yeah, bro said that way too casually. That's not confidence, that's a warning. Karen steps into the portal. And guess what he sees? Out of all possible scenarios, he's back. Back to his old life. Back as Kane. On the day of the revolution. Karen immediately gets annoyed. Of course it had to be this. The stone really said, let's reopen that trauma folder you tried to delete. It's basically throwing all his dead comrades back in his face. Emotional damage, EXE has started. As he walks toward the throne room, a creepy voice echoes, calling him, Child of the Blue Wolves. Yeah, nah, if I hear that in a dark dimension, I'm uninstalling life. The voice tells him, reach the throne. He opens the gates, and there it is. The throne. The same throne for which the Emperor made a deal with a demon. Karen realizes, all his comrades died because of this. All that blood. For this one thing. Then, he sees his old sword. Ruin. And surprise, it's a demonic sword. Because of course it is. Nothing in this world can be normal for more than 5 seconds. The voice says, pour your mana into it. Karen refuses immediately. Because this sword devours souls. Yeah, bro said I have trauma, not stupidity. But then, he remembers something Grandpa said. Face your fears. And suddenly, it clicks. This isn't just about getting a weapon. This is therapy. Karen grabs the sword. Fine, let's end this. As soon as he channels mana, he's transported to the depths of the ocean. Complete silence, endless darkness. The sword transforms into a pure blade. Karen realizes this is the sword's true form. Power starts surging through his body. The voice explains, this sword was created to kill demons and devour their power. Its true name, the guillotine, the execution sword. Yeah, that name alone is a red flag. That's not a weapon, that's a career-ending decision. Karen looks at it. The voice continues, this matches your destiny. Dark like the deep sea. Karen asks, who are you? The voice replies, you're not worthy to know my name yet. Bro got rejected by a voice. Karen ignores it and focuses. How do I get out of here? Then he realizes, he just needs to destroy the throne. He channels mana into the guillotine, and swings with full force. Back to reality. Tension is high. Everyone is waiting. Pell is panicking. Hello is trying to calm him down. Suddenly, the Stone of Oath starts glowing again. But this time, it's not opening. It's breaking. Hello is completely shocked. Reality starts distorting again. The forest begins vibrating with energy. The entire altar starts collapsing. Hello is shouting, what is happening? And in the middle of all this chaos, Karen just casually walks out of the portal, holding his new sword. Like he didn't just destroy a whole dimension. Like bro just came back from grocery shopping. Everyone is staring at him. Karen looks around, trying to find the Stone of Oath. But it's gone. Completely destroyed. Because of course it is. Our boy really said, pass the trial then break the trial. Because why not? Everyone is frozen. Trying to understand what just happened. Pell is having a full panic attack. He's shouting, what did you do? Why did you break the stone? And honestly, even Karen is slightly freaking out inside. Because yeah, he didn't exactly plan this either. Bro pressed random buttons and unlocked a hidden ending. Meanwhile, Hello is staring at the weapon. His face turns pale. He whispers, the guillotine. No one is supposed to know about this sword. It was erased from history. Like that one name in Harry Potter that nobody says out loud. Only the family head and elders know about it. And even they only know fragments. Hello is shocked. How did this forbidden sword just appear? He looks at Karen, and for a moment, it almost feels like he's scared. Then suddenly, his expression changes. And he mutters, the Covenant is coming. Yeah, that's not ominous at all, totally normal sentence, nothing to worry about. Karen looks at the ancient blade in his hands, and simply says, yeah, I'm good. Bro really rejected destiny like it's a spam call. Hello size. Alright then. And starts explaining. Long ago, their ancestors made a pact with a blue dragon to eliminate all demons. But they failed, spectacularly, like group project level failure. So they left behind the Stone of Oath, as proof that they at least tried. Basically, they passed the responsibility to future generations. Classic move. Not my problem anymore, Skull. And now, it looks like Karen is the unlucky one who has to finish what they started. Hello raises his hand dramatically and declares, Karen, son of Pele, is now officially a legitimate member of the fortress. He has been chosen by the guillotine and is worthy of learning the Spirit Sea style. Sounds cool, right? Until you realize, congratulations, you've been recruited into an ancient deadly war. No application, no interview, just vibes. Raphael stands there, still mad about his son getting folded earlier. He mutters, I can't believe a brat like him gets this honor. Meanwhile, Thales is just chilling. Bro is here for lore, not drama. Pell walks up to Karen, trying to comfort him. He says, I thought I knew every weapon in the family arsenal. But I've never seen this one. And honestly, it gives me chills. He realizes his son is walking a path he could never handle himself. But still, he refuses to let family drama ruin this moment. Hello announces, the awakening ceremony is over. Prepare to leave. And just like that, everything changes. Bro, Deals looks completely stunned. He asks if they're seriously just going to stand there and let this happen. Deals replies that they'll need to take action soon. He adds that even someone as greedy and ambitious as Raphael can understand how serious this situation is. At that, they ask him if he already knew about Schwartz. Deal says nope, first time I'm seeing this. And that's when Raphael starts having a full-blown existential crisis. Like bro is questioning life itself. Why Peel's son of all people? Yeah, destiny really said spin the wheel and landed on Karen. Bale tries to act as the voice of reason. He says this is not the time for family infighting. Cut to the next day at the train station. Peel is acting like a worried dad, asking Karen if he'll really be okay living alone in the fortress. Heinrich replies, dude, is there any place safer than the fortress? Peel agrees, saying yeah, it's safe from outside dangers, but he's worried about the dangers inside. You know, the stab you in the back while smiling at dinner kind of brothers. Still, he doubts anyone would try anything too crazy while the Duke is around. Heinrich clears his throat and drops some news. The one assigned to teach Karen's Spirit Sea style is none other than Lady Sabina. The moment Peel hears that name, his face lights up. He says he hasn't seen his aunt in ages, but if she's the one teaching Karen, then he can finally relax. Karen also immediately recognizes the name. She's Halo's sister, just as skilled as him, once known as the White Wolf. Peel tells Karen that his aunts always spoiled him, so he should never disrespect her. Karen promises he'll do his best. Heinrich adds that the family head has prepared a residence in the fortress for Peel, so he can visit any time. Peel gets emotional like a kid because he's genuinely grateful. Heinrich says it's no big deal. Peel says goodbye, tells Karen to contact him if he ever needs help, and boards the train again. Karen starts heading toward the top of the fortress when Heinrich stops him, saying they should hurry because Sabina is waiting. Karen replies, yeah, can't keep my great-aunt waiting. Heinrich immediately stops him and gives a crucial warning. Sabina absolutely hates being called grandmother, so he should avoid that word at all costs. Karen thanks him for the heads up, but in his mind he's like, what's wrong with calling a grandmother grandmother? Yeah bro, say it once and you might unlock the boss fight early access version. They enter the fortress, and Heinrich explains that only direct descendants are allowed in this cultivation chamber. He tells Karen that Sabina is already inside, and Leo is there too. Karen gets excited, thinking training with Leo will be fun, especially since Leo specifically requested to train under Sabina. Karen says he's going in. As he runs off, Heinrich watches him and thinks the place is about to get lively again. Karen stands outside the door and immediately senses an intense aura coming from inside. He thinks, yeah, this is serious. Suddenly, he hears a voice asking if he plans to stand there all day like he's on a date, or if he's coming in. He enters, gives a respectful bow, and his jaw drops. She asks if he's surprised that she doesn't look like what he expected. Reveal she looks way younger than Halo. Like there's no way this woman is someone's grandmother. Bro's brain just went, error 404, aging not found. She casually mentions that he's Peel's son and says time really flies. Karen's mind starts racing. He thinks she must have reconstructed her body using magic at the 8-star level, but how is that even possible? She suddenly snaps at him, asking why he's standing like a statue, and tells him to sit cross-legged next to Leo. Sabina says she never expected such a small kid to call her the White Wolf. Karen explains that he likes history and read about her in a book. She smiles and says he's just as interesting as her brother described. When Karen asks what his grandfather said about him, she tells him Halo said Karen is a child he would definitely like. And now that she's seen him, she understands why. She explains that Halo said Karen is someone who must navigate a vast ocean, and she needs to help him so that one day, he can rule that ocean. She stands up and announces it's time to begin. She explains that by using Azure Mana, they create and operate oceans within their bodies. The more oceans they can operate, the stronger they become. When someone can operate 8 oceans, they reach the 8-star level. And the stage where those 8 oceans function like a single giant sea, that's 9-star. And in the entire continent, only 3 people have reached that level. In the Empire, only 1. Karen says, "That's my grandfather." Sabina replies, "Correct." Karen becomes determined in this life he will reach the same level as Halo. Sabina can feel his determination and says he's an interesting boy, and training him will be fun. She decides to begin. She says, "First, let mana flow through the passages opened by the ritual, and remember the power of the ocean is not meant to be controlled, but accepted." Karen begins to feel his mana, it's unstable, he needs to calm it. He starts focusing from his heart. Compared to Leo, he looks completely different in terms of mana output. Sabina notices this and thinks, is this really the mana of a child who just completed the awakening ritual? Because Leo, who has been trained for 2 years in domination techniques, is only aiming for 2-star level. But Karen, he's stabilizing his mana on his own, without even being taught. Karen says it hurts, like his body is tearing apart, and he stops training. Sabina thinks, is he feeling strain? She says it's good that he knows how to control his pace. She notices Leo struggling badly, and reminds him she warned him not to force mana control. Leo apologizes. Sabina realizes she was so focused on Karen that she forgot, at the end of the day, they're still kids. Then she randomly notices Karen's messy hair, and wonders why it's so chaotic. Priorities: ancient master, world-class warrior, still distracted by bad hair day. She thinks she needs to act like an adult so they don't damage their bodies. In her mind, she acknowledges that it's impressive Karen stopped at his limit to avoid strain. At such a young age, having this level of composure, despite his hunger for power, shows how brilliant her older brother was. But she doesn't think she'll need to act as a lighthouse for Karen. She walks up to him and says that for the next 3 years she guarantees his safety, so he should focus on building strength to protect himself. Karen says okay. Now it's time for practical training. They head to where the other trainees are, and over there, even Fantasy Saitama is training. Bro probably doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and ruining everyone's confidence. The instructor turns and sees Leo and Karen approaching. Leo asks if he's seriously using that sword for training. The instructor welcomes them. Karen looks at him and the man introduces himself. He says he's in charge of sword training today and is the knight commander of the Sea Wolf Knights. His name is Jur. Karen says nice to meet you, and can tell at a glance that Jur is at 8-star level. Jur says they might find this rude, but he won't call them young master or anything like that until they prove themselves. Karen says don't worry, that's more comfortable for me anyway, I'm not used to titles. And he knows this is a test of family tradition, earning the respect of the Blue Wolves through skill. Jur says that's an interesting reaction, since most people would find it disrespectful. And Leo, yeah, he's definitely not an exception. Karen stares at Leo, laughs, and says it won't matter, because eventually, everyone here will bow at his feet. Jur says maybe we finally have a successor whose mind is in the right place. But then he looks at our boy, who's making a terrifying face like he's about to start a villain arc DLC. Scene shifts and we get a full 3-year time skip. Halo is just chilling, casually having drinks with his sister. Sabina is saying that her brother's liquor collection is absolutely fire. Halo likes the compliment but says, "Yeah, that's true, but can you stop stealing from my stash?" Sabina dodges the topic like a pro, saying that's the least he can do after she spent 3 years teaching those brats. Yeah, she really said, "I raised your kids, I own your alcohol now." Hearing this, Halo gets a bit nostalgic. He asks her what she thinks about the boy after observing him for so long. And Sabina drops a bombshell. She straight up calls Karen a monster. Halo immediately goes, "Excuse me, you're calling my grandson a monster." Bro switched from chill uncle to defensive grandpa in 0.2 seconds, but Sabina stands firm. She says that even calling him a genius would be an insult at this point. Then Halo turns to Jur like, "Bro, back me up here." Jur says nope, she's right. Watching that kid for 3 years, I have to agree. He starts listing all of Karen's insane qualities, his physical abilities, his talent, his attitude, his training mentality, and then drops a massive shock. Karen is actually better than Hugo. The same Hugo everyone considers the ultimate prodigy. Halo's brain just short circuits, like bro's internal system just went Windows has stopped working. He says, "Wait, you're saying he's equal to Hugo?" The guy considered the best talent in the entire empire. Jur nods. "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying." Now Sabina gets serious. She says this could create major problems for the family if not handled properly. Halo is confused. She explains they need to think about how Karen's existence will affect the line of succession. Basically what happens when Karen's talent becomes known, and his uncles realize their own sons look like side characters next to their nephew. Yeah. Family dinner about to turn into a battlefield real quick. Halo tries to defend his sons. He asks if she's seriously saying they would see their own nephew as a threat, but Sabina doesn't agree. She points out that yes, Halo is in control right now, but once Karen's talent spreads across the empire, things will get messy very fast. Halo realizes she's right, then Sabina, a bit sadly, asks if this is the end of their family because the oath stone has already been broken. And on top of that, magical beasts are crossing over from beyond the North Sea. At this point, it really looks like the family is about to get absolutely cooked. But Halo tells her not to think like that, because the one who broke the stone is destined to raise a new one, just like their founding ancestor once did. Sabina pauses and says, "Wait, I'm hearing this for the first time. Is this some secret prophecy only the family head knows?" Halo confirms the time of the covenant is approaching. Sabina takes a deep breath, realizing that their youngest member, their precious little chaos machine, is about to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. She asks when Halo plans to tell Karen all this. Halo replies, "When the time is right." Scene shifts. Peel is reading our boy's letter. It starts pretty standard, asking about his parents, apologizing for not visiting because he's been grinding non-stop. Bro really said no days off like it's a lifestyle. He tells his dad to wear warm clothes because winter is coming and he gets cold easily. Then casually drops that he has already mastered 4-star sea control and the 4th form of herring swordsmanship. Just casual flex. Nothing serious. Totally normal kid behavior. He says everything is good with relatives and he's taking care of Leo. But then the real purpose of the letter appears. He's broke, and he needs an allowance top-up. Priorities. Always back to Peel. The man is literally laughing. He asks Heinrich if he remembers how stressed he was 3 years ago when sending Karen away, and now the kid is thriving. Heinrich mentions that because of Karen, the fortress is never quiet anymore. Peel says he keeps telling Karen not to stand out so much. But Heinrich drops a poetic line, "A diamond shines even when it's covered." Okay, Heinrich, we see you, philosopher mode unlocked. Then things get serious. He warns that the situation is changing and they won't be able to keep Karen's abilities a secret for long. He might soon be assigned a real mission. Peel gets worried, because his 2 older brothers won't be happy about Karen becoming a rising star. But Heinrich reassures him Sabina values Karen highly now, and with her protection the brothers won't be able to do anything. Peel feels relieved. He says Karen always writes in his letters how much Sabina takes care of him, but it's good to hear it confirmed. Heinrich adds that Sabina has always had a soft spot for Peel too. Peel jokes that the monthly allowances she sends must be helping. But then he gets worried again. He heard Sabina might leave the fortress soon. Heinrich tells him not to stress. Karen has formed strong bonds with the fortress knights. They've even given him a nickname. Peel laughs and says yeah, he heard it. The young mad dog of the Azure Sea Fortress. Yeah, not a nickname, that's a warning label. Cut to a training scene. Karen is absolutely destroying a knight's blade in combat. Knight Hand says, "Bro, stop." I asks how Karen redirected his sword and tanked the hit. But our boy basically calls him weak. Says overpowering a grown man shouldn't be this easy and Hand's muscles are just for decoration. Hands is shocked. No one has ever called him weak or said his muscles are just for show, but Karen. He's just being brutally honest. Hands admits that fighting Karen without magic is becoming impossible. And just last year it wasn't this bad. He mentions Karen might soon be deployed on a mission, maybe to the western granary region where magical beasts are increasing. Karen immediately turns to Leo and asks if he heard that. Leo says he doesn't want to be deployed with Karen. The guy sparring with Leo tells him to focus. Leo apologizes, but says at least completing a mission will make his parents proud. Back to Peel and Heinrich. Peel says the real reason he called Heinrich wasn't the letter, it's something else. He shows him something found by thief inspectors in a merchant wagon from the barony of Felies. Heinrich examines it and asks, "Is this what I think it is?" Peel nods, "Yeah, drugs." That's why he wants Heinrich to investigate the barony. Scene shifts. We see a man stepping off a train asking, "Is this the Azure Sea Fortress?" Cut to our boy Karen, who is casually looting Jur's liquor stash with zero guilt. He's thinking just because he's stuck in a kid's body doesn't mean he forgot the taste of good alcohol. And stealing from Jur never gets old, bro really risking his life for premium drinks. Suddenly he notices two unfamiliar people. A man is asking a butler if it's true that the Duke has left. The butler confirms the Duke went to the capital to deal with the king, so for now the Knight Commander is in charge. Karen calls out and the butler jumps in fear seeing him there. Karen asks what they're doing here so late. The man introduces himself as Baron Rowan and says he has an urgent request. Karen just stares at him. And Rowan starts giving a full formal introduction, talking about how Karen is the third prince's son, removed from succession but has awakened magic and is training in the main house. Meanwhile, Karen is just standing there, holding a stolen bottle of alcohol. Yeah, peak professionalism. Karen cuts the formalities and says, "I'll listen." The butler suggests sending him to the Knight Commander. But Rowan is mentally stuck on one thing. Why is this child holding alcohol? Karen explains normally he handles things through proxies. But if Rowan came personally, it must be serious. Receiving a noble directly is the right move. The butler says he'll inform the Knight Commander separately. Karen says, "Yeah, do that." Rowan is thinking this kid's political instincts are impressive, but the bottle is still bothering him. Like bro is having a moral crisis. Is it okay to accept drinks from a 12-year-old? Karen gets straight to the point. He asks if the problem is the bandit group camped in the eastern mountains of the barony. Rowan confirms. Karen lists, ever since those bastards showed up, drugs have flooded the streets and common people are being kidnapped and turned into slaves. Rowan admits it's shameful, but their land is poor and lacks resources. They didn't have a proper military for a whole year, so they couldn't do anything. His father couldn't take it anymore and led an attack with their remaining soldiers. The result was exactly what you'd expect. They were crushed. Now his father is bedridden from the battle. Rowan blames himself for his father's condition and for the suffering of his people. Karen puts the bottle down, says scum like that deserve to be torn apart, but something doesn't add up. Even a weak military shouldn't lose that badly to regular bandits. Rowan says it's not confirmed, but they suspect deserters from the Southern Kingdom, where a war is ongoing, have joined them. Karen thinks, ever since they dethroned the evil Empire bastard, the downsized Imperial army has been fully focused on the Southern War. No resources left for the North. Public order there has gone to trash, so the deserter theory actually makes sense. Then he suddenly switches tone and asks if Rowan wants a drink, because the mood got heavy. Yeah, emotional support via stolen alcohol. He laughs and explains that since Rowan's barony borders his father's territory, he can't ignore the situation. If possible, he wants to personally help. Rowan thanks him but is still internally confused about accepting alcohol from a literal child. Karen says the drink is stolen from Jur's collection, so they'll have to keep it a secret. Rowan points out Jur is the Knight Commander, and right on cue Jur walks in, says, "I thought we had an agreement that you wouldn't touch my alcohol." Is on the verge of a heart attack. Jur apologizes for being rude and tells Rowan not to worry, he couldn't have known the situation. He says he's heard about the bandit trouble. Rowan confirms he came to request help from the knights. Jur agrees it's urgent. Karen starts laughing loudly. Jur tells him alcohol isn't good at his age and snatches the cup away. Karen whines that he wants his drink back. Jur apologizes to Rowan for the mess. Rowan says it's fine. Jur gets serious and says since Rowan came personally, they won't sit idle while an old ally is in trouble. Rowan feels relieved. Jur says he'll organize troops and dispatch them soon. Rowan thinks, finally, he can take some good news back to his people.